The Bosporan Kingdom was a Greek kingdom established in eastern Crimea and the Taman Peninsula. This impressive Greco-Scythian kingdom became a major trading power in the ancient world. Originally, the Bosporan Kingdom was a handful of independent Greek cities, such as Pantikapaeum, modern-day Kerch, Phanagoria, Hermanassa, among others. Most of these cities were of Meletian origin, but due to the Ionian revolt, Miletus fell to ruin. The colonial cities, however, grew extremely prosperous on what was called the Rough Peninsula, or Trachea Chersonesos. This was because the soon-to-be Bosporan Kingdom was right on top of extremely fertile farmland, with abundant fisheries in Lake Maeotis to the north. Not only was it abundant in fertility, but it was easily defensible as well. The Cimmerians, who previously occupied the region, left defensive walls which the Greeks took full advantage of. Over time, however, the Greek cities were regularly demanded to pay tribute to the Scythians. They grew tired of this and realized that if they united, they could defend themselves from the nomadic raiders much more effectively. This is when, in around 520 BC, the Bosporan Kingdom was founded. Initially, the kingdom was ruled by the Archaea dynasty, probably a holdover from their Milesian origins. This dynasty ruled from 480 to 438 BC, when they were usurped by the Thracian tyrant Spartacus, who most likely originated from the Odrysian kingdom. This created the Spartacid dynasty, which ruled from 438 to 110 BC. Satyrus succeeded Spartacus upon his death in 431. He focused on expanding the kingdom, taking in Nymphaeum and laying siege to Theodosia. Theodosia was an important and very wealthy trading city because its port never iced over, meaning it could export grain even through the winter months. Upon Satyrus' death, his son Leucon succeeded the throne. Leucon completed his father's ambition and took Theodosia, winning the siege. He ruled for 40 years until his death in 347 BC, when his sons, Spartacus II and Parysates, jointly succeeded him. Spartacus II, however, died in 342, leaving the throne entirely to Parysates. A civil war broke out between Parysates' sons Satyrus and Eumelus after his death in 310 BC. Eumelus was defeated at the Battle of the River Thatis, but won the throne when Satyrus was killed in battle. Spartacus III, who reigned from 303 to 283 BC, succeeded Eumelus, and then is succeeded by Parysates II. Spartacus III, who reigned from 303 to 283 BC, succeeds Eumelus, and then is succeeded by Parysates II. Ultimately, there's not enough of a record remaining to piece together the entire Spartacid dynasty, but we do know that Parysates V is the last Spartacid. It's a rather tragic story. He was struggling to hold off barbarian tribes, so he called upon a Pontic general, Diophantus, for help, which basically handed the Bosporan kingdom over to Mithridates of Pontus. Ultimately, Parysates V was killed by a rebel Scythian named Salmachus. Overall, the Spartacids kept a very good relationship with Athens, as they say that depended on grain imports to feed her people. This made the breadbasket of the Bosporan kingdom very wealthy. Athens imported a lot of Bosporan grain. In addition to the wealth being brought in, Athens bestowed honors to the Bosporans. For example, giving Leucon Athenian citizenship. Mithridates VI was engaged in a war with Rome, and it was not going well. His son, Machares, was regent of the Bosporan kingdom at this time. Mithridates wanted to raise another army from the Bosporans to take on Rome again, but when Machares refused, Mithridates had him killed and assumed control of the kingdom himself. This was short-lived, however, as his other son, Pharnaces, led a rebellion against his father. Consequently, Mithridates took his own life in 63 BC. Soon after, the Bosporan kingdom became a client kingdom in Rome. Pharnaces II tried to regain his dominion in the midst of Caesar's civil war, but this failed. He was killed by his son-in-law Asander, who previously married Dynamis, Pharnaces II's daughter. Asander ruled until he was defeated by Mithridates II at the behest of Caesar. The Bosporan kingdom, however, was restored after the death of Julius Caesar in 44 BC. Asander was then ruler until 17 BC. Polemon I of Pontus was established as ruler by the Romans and ruled from 16 to 8 BC, when he was succeeded by Aspergus, who established a dynasty that would last on and off until 341 AD. He became Tiberius Iulius and had the patronage of both emperors Augustus and Tiberius. All kings after would take those two names in addition to a third. The Bosporan Kingdom adopted the Pontic era calendar that began in 297 BC so they could date their coinage. The kingdom expanded east to Tanais, allowing for better trade with the interior. There was, however, somewhat continuous conflict with the Sarmatian and Scythian tribes. The Bosporan king, Cotys I, was deposed by the Emperor Nero in 62 AD, who probably wanted to reduce client-ruler power. From 63 to 68 AD, the Bosporan Kingdom was incorporated into Moesia Inferior, a Roman province, but was restored by Emperor Galba to Cotys I's son, Rescuporis I. There was an increase in Jewish presence after the Jewish diaspora. In 250 AD, Bosporan shipping was seized by Goths and Barani. Later, the kingdom was conquered by the Huns, but the cities experienced a revival under the Bulgarians and the Byzantines, but will never reach the glory it had in the ancient world. And ladies and gentlemen, that is the Bosporan Kingdom.